The horror movie season has ended, and as you sit amongst your rotten pumpkins and post-Halloween sorrows, you wonder, is it time to move on to Christmas so soon? Or is there another type of film that can bridge the dark to the light? Welcome to Noirvember. Yes, that is actually a thing. What a great month to take a trip down the foggy back alleys and dark city streets and examine a world of corruption and morally ambiguous characters. Film noir has given us some of the most iconic images of American cinema. The shape of a man in a trench coat and fedora hat is something that has always stuck in my mind and has transcended into many of my old short films. But when did the obsession start? How deep does it go? And what is it we love about film noir? Film noir is a topic that I always wished I talked about more on Cinemassacre. As a kid, I've seen the film noir tropes in cartoons, video games, and movies like Roger Rabbit, Dick Tracy, and even Home Alone.
All right, Johnny, I'm sorry.
1, 2, 10.
I wasn't aware they were referencing a famous era of film until my teenage years, and I didn't even know I loved film noir as much as I did until my college years. It came up in all my film classes. I even had an entire class on the subject. But no matter how much research, how many movies you watch, how many books you read, film noir remains a bit of a mystery, and that's what's so cool about it. It's hard to define. It's even hard to say. Noir, noir, noir. The term was first coined by French critics who described it as a darker type of film, both in tone and literal darkness. That's why it's called dark film, film noir. There is a debate whether it's a genre or just a style that transcends many genres. The debates can be quite passionate with no universal consensus, and that's another thing I love. It gives you something to talk about. And for the record, I believe it's a style, a genre, and an era, but that needs some explaining, which I will get to. As an era, it's usually considered to be the 40s and 50s, quite simply. There's a very comprehensive book, The Film Noir Guide by Michael F. Kane, which catalogs 740 films between 1940 and 1959. Though I subscribe to the notion that the classic era started with The Maltese Falcon and ended with Touch of Evil. That would be 1941 to 58. But whatever the case, it's worth mentioning all the gangster films which preceded it in the 30s, like Little Caesar with Edward G. Robinson, The Public Enemy with James Cagney, and the original Scarface with Paul Mooney. It's never been proven why these films can't be considered film noir, but I believe the answer has something to do with the morality of the characters. They were simply bad guys. They did awful deeds and they got punished. The message was that crime doesn't pay. But in film noir, crime might pay. It's more ambiguous. There generally aren't any real good guys. Everybody's crooked in some way. And as film critic Roger Ebert once said, film noir never has a happy ending. Now that I've defined the era, what about the style? What are all the signature elements of film noir that make it a style over genre? First, they have to be black and white. There can be exceptions, but the stark contrast between the light and dark gives a more dramatic effect. The lack of color lends to the feeling of depression and hopelessness. So it's mostly agreed that to be film noir, it has to be black and white. The low-key lighting, the hard shadows, and silhouetted bodies are among the most recognizable features. I mean, let's say you're shooting a movie and you're lighting a scene. You can just say, hey, make it film noir, and everybody knows what you mean. The characters never turn a lamp on. Everybody talks in a dark room. The lighting is my favorite aspect, and it's the same type of creepy lighting you see in horror films of the time, and even dating back to the silent era, mainly the German Expressionist films, and after all, it was German filmmakers like Fritz Lang who helped plant the seeds of film noir. You gotta have wet streets, you gotta have fog. Metaphorically, nothing is clear. There's always this blurry mystery in the air, and what better conveys that than fog? If there's one thing you should know about me, I love fog.
Like
There's
everywhere.
gotta be like fog, like that.
You got a fog machine gun.
Another important thing are the window blinds. Anyone who has ever referenced noir has used that effect with the light coming through the blinds. It's mandatory. I mean, what else? Are you gonna look at a plain wall? Come on, put some blinds on there. It's like prison bars. The characters are trapped without hope. And a great example is the final confrontation in Double Indemnity. I mean, they're just surrounded with blinds. Everything takes place almost exclusively at night. It must be in a city. The city is a place of corruption. I always love seeing those establishing shots of the city at night. It makes you feel like you just want to walk around there in a trench coat and fedora. It's just the idea that at night things are more sketchy, that there's this secret underbelly of crime. But the alleys are where it's at. I mean, the alleys are the true passages of evil, where all the trouble happens. If the main city streets weren't dangerous enough, the alleys are like the veins where the perversion runs through from the wicked heart of the city. There's got to be neon signs. Oh yeah, the glowing call of a false promise. Empty words shouting out to a darkened city that doesn't hear. Man, I should write more noir scripts. This is fun. You know what's even better than a neon sign? A neon sign coming through a window. Usually it's a hotel or somewhere, but of course you want it to be a detective's office. It doesn't happen often, but I have found it, and you know I'm still looking, because I can't get enough. The detective's office is a main setting, often where the story begins. The noir detective is a little different than Sherlock Holmes or Dick Tracy, who were common in film at the time. But here, they're more like anti-heroes, cynical loners who operate on their own terms, separate from the police force. What makes them so interesting is that they have their own type of moral code. There's no better example, in the classic era at least, than Humphrey Bogart as Samuel Spade in The Maltese Falcon. Early on, his partner is shot, and he doesn't let it bother him much, to the point where he even becomes a suspect. To me, the noir detective is all about being a tough guy 24/7, but seeing how far that tough guy can go before the femme fatale takes a hold of him. The trope of the femme fatale, or dangerous dame, is at the very heart of a noir plot. She's basically a character who manipulates the lead protagonist. If not getting into a relationship is part of the tough guy's code, well, this is where he faces his greatest weakness. In The Maltese Falcon, Spade takes on a job from Bridget O'Shaughnessy to track down a valuable falcon statuette, but it's part of a ploy as he's drawn into a web of gangsters and almost becomes her fall guy. The detective doesn't always meet the femme fatale in his office. It could be at her house or at a nightclub. The nightclub trope is one of the best because it's the type of place that could only exist in that era. The type of music and performance dates it in a good way. After all, the nightclub is where Eddie Valiant first meets Jessica Rabbit. The dialogue always has to be fast, witty, and wisecracking.
How do you like your brandy, sir?
In a glass. When you're slapped, you'll take it and like it.
In modern films, people usually speak slower with more pauses, more like the way people really talk. But in film noir, one thing they know how to do is talk.
Miles hadn't many brains, but he'd had too many years' experience as a detective to be caught like that by a man he was shadowing up a blind alley with his gun in his hip and his overcoat buttoned.
In those days, many actors flourished on radio. In fact, The Maltese Falcon was performed on radio quite a few times with some of the same cast. On radio, all they had to work with was their voice. It's that type of training, and possibly theater background as well, that I think might have contributed to the lightning-fast, caffeinated battle of words. Opposite to that is all the voiceover, the inner monologues and narration by the main character. It's more laid back and reflective.
I was scared stiff, Keys. Maybe you were playing cat and mouse with me.
It's not always the case. Not every film noir has voiceover, but as soon as you hear it, you know you're watching noir.
About that girl of Artie's, that Miss Schaefer.
Flashbacks are another common thing. We jump back in time as the character tells you the tale, putting you into his or her perspective. Sometimes there can be multiple perspectives and points of view. There's always smoking and drinking, as if things are so rough they're trying to dull the pain. Maybe the cigarettes and alcohol is what keeps the tough guy going. Even if you're trying to hide out in a car, you're gonna risk giving yourself away with a cigarette? You get the feeling that in every room somewhere there's hidden bottles of booze. And sometimes they can only talk when there's a cigarette in their mouth. Who knows why exactly? Maybe it's just because smoking was considered cool at the time, but it's such a well-known trope that you gotta love it. I mean, you just look at all the posters of all these movies and you just see nothing but guns and cigarettes. Guns and cigarettes all the time. Whether it's an iconic image of smoking under a streetlight or lighting a match on a Cupid's ass, yeah, that happened. Or how about in The Big Sleep, they get straight to the point. The opening credits is an ashtray. A lot of times there's gambling as well, whether it's poker, craps, or roulette. Things aren't honest. There's some kind of power play at hand, because you know the system is rigged. Also, many times there's somebody answering the phone while in bed, as if the situation wasn't bleak enough, now you gotta lose sleep over it. And then there's always driving at night, and usually in the rain. You always get that frontal shot of the face with the rain hitting the windshield, as if we're on a dark one-way route into the unknown. Or how about the MacGuffin, which is a term Hitchcock coined? It's a random word for a random object that the characters are after. It could be the Falcon or whatever. It doesn't matter what it is, but its purpose is to move the story forward. All the Indiana Jones films are based around the idea of the MacGuffin. The most famous false trope is the saxophone music.
Hey, Max! Put a sock in the sack!
It's in almost every parody, but why? I think I heard it in Dark Passage.
Don't even try, Vincent.
Oh, you hear that? That might be a sax. But it's playing off of a record in the background. Go ahead and try to sit through hundreds of noir films to find saxophone music. Good luck. So if film noir is a style, or a bunch of common tropes that transcend multiple genres, then the only thing lacking in the discussion is precisely what type of genres it encompasses, or subgenres if you prefer. Well, I'd say they're generally crime movies, most often based around a murder, but you can divide the murder category into two groups, murder mysteries and murder capers. The mysteries are the ones where we follow the detective or whoever's investigating the crime. The information is withheld from the audience as the story unravels. I'd be strained to think of a better example than Maltese Falcon, but The Big Sleep is another great one with Bogey. The funny thing about The Big Sleep is that the story makes no sense. It's so famously convoluted, but nobody cares because the style is where it counts. Some say Orson Welles' Touch of Evil is the best, and while it has some great aspects like the opening long take, I think the praise it's had from film critics and professors has been a little exaggerated. The other genre, the murder caper, is the type of film where we follow the characters who commit the murder, and the thrill and suspense is all about seeing if they get caught. I don't know why Hitchcock doesn't come up more often, but he has the genre nailed down. Rope and Dial M for Murder are great examples where the characters kill someone, and then it's a tense, slow burn as we watch someone else put the pieces of the puzzle together. Good stuff. Now, while many of those are black and white, like Shadow of a Doubt, Strangers on a Train, The Wrong Man, and Psycho, many of them are in color as well. And maybe that's why a lot of people don't think of Hitchcock as straight-up noir. But what's the best example of a classic noir murder caper? I think one nobody can argue with is Double Indemnity. Here, an insurance salesman conspires with someone's wife to murder her husband and collect the insurance money. It has the voiceover, the flashbacks, the lighting, the dangerous dame who masterminds everything, and Edward G. Robinson chewing up every scene as the inquisitive, no-nonsense boss. So that's two types of murder films I described, but that doesn't mean there's only two. Another genre could be the man-on-the-run film. This is usually an innocent guy who's either involved in a murder or wrapped up in some kind of crime, and he spends the whole film trying to escape being caught. A really fun plot to tell you about is Quicksand. It stars Mickey Rooney as a mechanic who tries to borrow $20 from the cash register, but the collection agency comes early, so he has to find $20 immediately to place back in the register. Well, things spiral out of hand. He ends up having to steal a watch, then a car, he gets blackmailed by Peter Lorre, and then he has to murder someone, or presumes to have murdered someone, and he just sinks deeper into quicksand, like the title. But I think the greatest example of a man-on-the-run film, or one that I've seen at least, is Detour. It has the voiceover, the foggy streets, all the tropes. It concerns a man who's hopelessly down on his luck, and one day while hitchhiking, he gets picked up by a driver who dies, and while it's not his fault, he doesn't want to be accused of murder, so he spends the rest of the movie running from it, and when he meets the femme fatale, she takes advantage of the situation. And boy, this guy just can't catch a break. But it's not just the plot, it's the lighting that makes it a must-see. There's a notable scene where the lighting actually changes in a theatrical, surreal kind of way to emphasize the change in mood. It was directed by Edgar G. Ulmer, who made the 1934 horror film The Black Cat, which had the same type of surreal noir lighting. So, if it's not a murder mystery, a murder caper, or a man on the run, then it might be a heist film where a team of characters are trying to pull off a robbery of some kind, such as Stanley Kubrick's The Killing. And if it's not a heist film, well, then it's something else. There's tons of these subgenres that noir can be divided into. So many, it's impossible to count. How would you classify Sunset Boulevard? It always comes up as one of the best noirs, and no one has ever disputed it's a noir. Right from the beginning, there's a murder, but it's not a mystery or a caper. There's no detective. It's about a screenwriter who's trapped by an obsessive aging film star who wants to make a comeback. It has the voiceover, the flashback, and some of the low-key lighting, but it doesn't fit into a genre. You could say that means the only genre it can fit into is film noir, but it still feels to me like the noir aspect is purely in style only, because everything could be noir. And if noir is typically associated with the murder genres, then Laura is one that comes up very often, but it's very weak on style. To me, that is not noir. It's too bright, man. Look at that. All that flat lighting. That's not what noir looks like. Another big one that always comes up on lists is Out of the Past. And while, yes, it does have its share of noir lighting, there's too much daylight. I mean, what's all this sunshine crap all about? Personal tastes, that's all. Then you have movies that should be considered noir, but typically aren't. Casablanca is like a follow-up to Maltese Falcon, coming out around the same time and having much of the same cast like Bogart, Peter Lorre, and Sidney Greenstreet. It has drinking, gambling, dramatic lighting, and murder may not be central to the plot, but it's there. They're murdered over the MacGuffin, which would be the letters of transit, which is what the characters all need in order to escape the country. Bogart plays another tough guy who wallows in his sorrows with alcohol. While the Ingrid Bergman character may not be the typical femme fatale, she breaks the protagonist's heart and is the one who brings him into all the trouble. I don't know, it feels noir to me. How about Citizen Kane? It has the dark lighting, the silhouetted figures, the flashbacks and voiceovers, the MacGuffin being Rosebud, and it has the sad main character who is morally ambiguous. I say it's partly noir at least. On the Waterfront with Marlon Brando is a fantastic example. It has the corrupt characters. In fact, the entire plot is based around corruption in the labor unions. It's about a common man getting screwed over, and then he stands up to the big guys. Maybe it's shot a little too gritty and realistic to be considered noir. Maybe it's too modern in feel, which is only a testament to its greatness. I mean, this movie's ahead of its time. All it needed was to be in color and have some F-bombs, and you'd have a Martin Scorsese movie right here. And that brings me to modern films that were influenced by classic noir. Scorsese's Taxi Driver presents us with a bleak city, filthy with corruption, and has plenty voiceover.
Someday a real rain will come and wash all this scum off the streets.
It's undeniable how much noir had an influence over modern filmmakers like Tarantino and Christopher Nolan. You may even see a touch of noir style in places you're not even looking, like Jaws 2. Raiders of the Lost Ark definitely has some noir influence, and in Star Wars it might not be obvious, but I've always felt that the dealings over the Millennium Falcon are similar to that of the Maltese Falcon.
You want the Falcon, I've got it.
10,000, all in advance.
10,000?
If only you can get Harrison Ford and Humphrey Bogart in the same room.
Fast ship. You've never heard of the Millennium Falcon?
Oh, I know what it's supposed to look like. I know the value in human life you people put on it.
What is it, some kind of local trouble?
Well, there's nothing certain either way. It depends.
Looks like somebody's beginning to take an interest in your handiwork.
I warn you, if you attempt to prevent me, I shall certainly shoot you.
Over my dead body.
That may seem funny, but science fiction and noir go well hand in hand. That's why we have tech noir, films like The Terminator and Blade Runner. You'd probably still call them science fiction, but the noir style is there. So this plays into the idea that noir is a style that encompasses many genres. But it's not as easy as that, because I think in later years, it became a genre. It was Chinatown with Jack Nicholson that helped put the idea of film noir back into the mainstream. I mean, it's set in the correct time period. The opening credits are in a 1940s style. It even has John Huston, the director of the Maltese Falcon, in an acting role. Another example of neo-noir is LA Confidential. And then you have all those movies that went full black and white to capture the classic feel, like the Sin City films and The Man Who Wasn't There. And then you look at all the parodies and homages like in Ninja Turtles, Family Matters, Star Trek The Next Generation, the Steve Martin comedy Dead Men Don't Wear Plaid, and various spoofs on The Simpsons, Always Sunny, and SNL. If I were to make a list of every modern film noir reference, it would be a whole project in itself. So it's my thought that while film noir is a style that incorporates a broad range of films, it has retroactively become a genre because of the public awareness of its tropes, commonly the ones associated with the detective category. And as an era, it's an era that has aged well. But what is the best example from the classic era? Is there any one film that has the biggest source of all these tropes? I've always been on the hunt to find the perfect classic noir. It's a hunt that never ends. I still think Maltese Falcon is probably the best, but if you just want the tropes, I'd say check out Dead Reckoning. I don't know why Dead Reckoning doesn't get mentioned more, but it has everything you want. Bogart, voiceover.
There was something about the big lug I didn't like. Maybe he's calling me friend.
There's a nightclub, the femme fatale, the witty dialogue, the gambling, and driving in the rain. It might not be the best noir, but it delivers the tropes. But if I were to go outside the classic era and just pick what is my favorite film noir overall, I would say Roger Rabbit. And that's because of the character of Eddie Valiant. There has never been a better archetype of the noir detective. Even though he's surrounded by animated characters, Bob Hoskins plays it with serious conviction as a bitter, broken-down alcoholic grieving over the loss of his brother who was killed by a tune dropping a piano on his head. Yeah, it's a comedy, but it's also legit noir at the same time. In fact, the basic plot was partly taken from the third installment of the Chinatown trilogy, which was never produced. To sum things up, there's no wrong answer to what are the most quintessential noir ingredients. It's up to you to customize it. It only became a genre because of the public collective classifying these films, grouping them based on opinions and personal preferences. You make it yours. It's a subjective genre, and that's why I love film noir.